Hello and welcome to the Tech Lunch podcast, where we encourage our listeners to learn something new about tech every week. This can range from learning about new and exciting applications to the advancements in coding and technology. If you are always learning, you will always be a step above the rest. Take the time during lunch or during a break to listen and learn, kind of like a lunch and learn, but for the ears. This podcast will open the listeners' ears to new and exciting technologies they may have not been purviewed to in the past. These topics will range from manufacturing technologies to data collection technologies and everything in between. Hello, I'm Nick.
Hello, I'm Ed.
And this week we're going to talk about digital transformation and how that can impact, business productivity, where we're taking stuff from hard paper to digital and digital to a more advanced platform to assist with management, senior leaders and stuff like that to making decisions. So, Ed, when we're talking about, digital transformation, when that kind of comes up, what are you kind of thinking about when that, hits you?
Well, most people think going paperless. Well, it's not as simple as going paperless. Although those things are steps that have to happen to get to digital transformation, the big thing that I take from that is that we want to be able to take digital transformation and transform the company. And what that means is how can we get the product quicker to the customer? How can we reduce costs in the company and make the company more profitable? How can we take processes and streamline the processes, make them better? And how can we make the worker experience better? How can we take knowledge and share it across the whole corporate structure? Those are some of the things that should be considered when you talk digital transformation. As I said, it's not IoT, it's not machine learning, it's not AI, it's not just paperless. It's all those things leveraged across the company to make the company more efficient.
I think you hit the nail on the head when you're kind of talking about knowledge sharing. Knowledge sharing, especially in the tech space, is one of those things where it's hit or miss. Either you got it or you don't. And, one of those things, like what we're seeing these days, is companies go from taking their work instructions or their manuals and moving over to like a Confluence or to a wiki-based knowledge management system, or KKM. The knowledge management systems out there, are great. They're great tools and stuff like that. It's better than having a bunch of Word docs, stuffed in a file someplace that no one's ever going to read, because they're not encyclopedia'd. They're not set up for ease of use or ease of finding, and they're not really written how somebody needs to see them. And that's why I think that going towards like a wiki environment, through like Confluence or even just like the Wikipedia downloads, you can get that for free to make your own Wikipedia these days. I think with that is, one way that I see the digital transformation actually happening at the worker level. You can take, station documentation and move it all over to a wiki if you really wanted to by putting it on a touch screen and, let it rip. However, that's here nor there, and that's a down the pipe type of pipe dream when it comes down to that type of stuff. But, it's just, that's where I kind of see it going, at least as of right now, as of the second, that I think is most beneficial.
So let me explain a little bit. Let me go a little further in my explanation, or let me explain more. When I say worker experience, I mean in the past, a process engineer would go to the line and shadow a line associate and try to figure out if it's something with ergonomics, is it something with lack of understanding, or is the process broken? Imagine, if you will, if the process could tell us it was an ergonomic problem. If the process could adjust if it was an ergonomic problem. if the process could adjust if the process saw something that was not working, or if the process could say it's a better way to do it.
Right.
Imagine, if you will. And then we're talking about knowledge sharing or keeping our workforce at a certain level so that when we have gaps in knowledge, we can bridge those gaps. Well, we can bridge those gaps with maybe with the Wikipedia idea or a wiki. But what if I had a chatbot? What if I had a chatbot that said, hey, how can I help you today? Yeah. What if the chatbot say, hey, I see you looking at this in the logic. I remember from the past, because I can look at the histogram and pull from that histogram archival data and say, hey, I remember last time we had this, it was a sequencing issue.
Yeah.
Mind you, if you would go this path, we would get out of the loop where we would be stuck in this spot. Imagine, if you will, if the intelligence, if the chatbot, if the worker all were together working as a seamless cog, then we could make the company more productive.
Yeah. If you think about it, I think we've all kind of, fell victim to trying to make things better in a digital age and, kind of, felt the rough road getting to that point. I know that, from personal experience, we've kind of, I've made, stuff in the past to support, maintenance processes and procedures that takes our troubleshooting guides and digitizes them to make it easy. However, with that same process, you can build it, if you build it, they will come. However, if you build it and it's not deployed, they will not come, and I think, and that's kind of where, I've kind of hit that stalemate spot. However, it's there. And, moving everything over to the digital age and stuff like that, if you think about it, I'm going to divert to the manufacturing, not the manufacturing, but the warehousing space for a little bit. Warehousing technology has taken off in the last, 10 years, and even more so as we go to Industry 4.0, when we start talking about RFID technology and RFID tracking and, digital barcode scanning by PLC and stuff like that. However, it goes to the point where you still have to have a worker scanning a paper barcode, to pick that part. However, as we've seen in recent past, we've taken those, and you can see them now at Best Buy. Best Buy is the leading users of them, where they take the barcode and they transition it to a digital piece of material. So it's a screen that they can scan, or you can scan it with your phone, and so you can pull it up on their website. You can see, as we're moving forward, things are finally improving to make the job of the worker easier, and that benefits that ergonomics.
So here's another analogy. So say if I have something inside my process that's not working correctly, and I want to put some safeguards in place, the same way we put rumble strips in place to let people know, hey, you're deviating from the path. The same way we put speed bumps in place to control the flow. And the same way we put reflective indicators so people know, hey, stay in the boundaries. So imagine, if you could, not only at the shop floor, also at a managerial level, also at the logistic level, also across the whole corporation, where we had these safeguards in place based on agreed parameters across the company. Mm-hmm. What it would do is make every plant the same.
Right.
It would make all data come from one central location, one data source to show the truth. No erosion of truth, no deviation from the path. And if we had those things in place, along with an inventory system that was intelligent enough to foresee, hey, I've used 5 of these and I have 30. At this rate, I'm going to be out of these parts in about 30 days. Something is changed. The inventory system should send this to another system, say my MES system, my SCADA system, or at the basic controls level to say, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
Or it should send it to a production engineer or a process engineer to say, hey, something going on here. We need to do a deep dive. But the guy doesn't have to go grab the data from the floor. The floor sends the data to the guy. That data also gets sent to the next level, to the managerial level. Then it gets sent to a next level. It gets sent to a logistics level. And then the data is transparent to everybody.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And I think that's where, like we were talking about earlier, the Industry 4.0 stuff, and like we talked about, in episodes past, MQTT comes involved and, stuff like that. And we could take all those details and send them to a data lake and data mine it, and send it to the corporate level. So all these outlying plants can, send their data, or corporations can send their data to the main hub. And like you said, people can learn from what's going on at other locations. If you think about it, look how spread out Ford is, for example. If they take all their data and they send it up to a main point, Dearborn can look at it, mine their data, and then turn around and make educated decisions on how they can run their lines better in each and every single one of those locations. Or if there is one drive or something that's failing at every single location, they know that they need to hurry up and do a refresh before it gets too late. But it also gives the owners of any company, as we deviate away from Ford, give them the ability to make those decisions. And the same thing goes, at the house level. If you think about it in the personnel level, around the house and stuff like that. If you're, maintaining, a smart home, in the grand scheme of things, where you have, MQTT opening and closing door, well, not opening and closing doors, but sending open and closing data to a database or data mine or something like that. You have it pop up, and if you have kids, you can see how many times they open and close the door. You can see when they leave, how long the lights are left on. So you can actually make educated billing decisions based on what you do at home. And at that same time, you also know that, okay, cool, if I know that this door is opened 15 times a day, I know eventually I'm gonna have to go grease that that hinge, before I start having a squeaky issue, or I may need to go look at my gaps in the door or something like that. Stuff that you can use on a daily basis.
And another great application we could use in a consumer, from a consumer point of view, we could use these things with digital transformation to maybe the refrigerator knows, hey, I'm low on this product. I'm low on fries, or I'm low on chicken fingers, and that's the meal that I serve 2 times a week.
Yeah.
And the refrigerator orders this via the internet, and it's delivered via a delivery service. Maybe those are some things. Maybe we use a certain amount of dish detergent or clothing softeners or say bleach or something like that. Maybe the washer and dryer is intelligent enough to go ahead and foresee the usage. Yeah. Or maybe the washer and dryer recommends a certain time. Maybe the washer and dryer recommends a amount of water, so many gallons or so many liters. Maybe even the air conditioning system knows that, hey, the temperature's outside here, the temperature inside here. I've noticed that in the past that they've changed the temperature to here when they're in this room or that room. Hey, adjust. We have climate control in each room.
Yeah.
We have independent climate control across each room. You put in a couple of actuators that can close off vents, or you put in a couple of actuators that can open up vents. We reduce the airflow, or we go up on the temperature or down on the temperature, or we use nature to our advantage. These are things that you can use. Maybe we have smart windows that can take the radiant heat from the sun and store it up at night, and then I can use that to power my home and get off the grid for a couple hours and give the grid a break. These are things we can do. These are things we should do.
Right. If you think about it, for example, like my truck, for instance, my truck talks to the manufacturer and stuff like that. Lets them know when I have maintenance issues and stuff like that, and it lets the dealer know if something's going on. But my truck's got to the point where it knows, based on my driving habits, how much usable oil life I have left. And what that does, that sends a notification to the manufacturer, and the manufacturer will then tell me, okay, cool, yes, what you're due for an oil change at this time, because we see your oil light's getting low, your oil level is being used up. It's not like it's disappearing. It's the usable detergent level inside the oil is being destroyed. But that's kind of how we see it now, and I think all manufacturers are going to that these days. So I know it's nothing new.
And if you want to master your life, you have to learn moderation. What better way than to use digital transformation across industrial application, across commercial application, across, I would say, military applications? What better way than to use these things from data that's already been harvested and take these things and say, hey, we should moderate the power usage at this time because at this time the usage is lower. Most of the time people are asleep at this time in this area. Why don't we just have a way to harness radiant energy or harness sunlight in the daytime and run just the essentials? Yeah. If my television needs to run, I just power a television. It doesn't need to, but hey, some people like it.
Right.
If my clock has to run, I should be able to, use battery power or some type of trickle charge to keep that running. So imagine, if you will, if we could do the same thing in an industrial environment.
Yeah.
Imagine if I could save on an average each year about $10 million in utility. That's over water, that's over electric, that's over natural gas, or whatever utility you are using. $10 million per plant across the whole corporation could probably equal to $1 billion. And with $1 billion, imagine how much innovation we could do.
Yeah, exactly.
These are things that digital transformation can do. Yeah. These are things that digital transformation should do. These are things that you as a corporation should be investigating in, investing in, and basically pushing it across the whole company. Everybody in the company should be on the same note, should be one note.
Yeah. And, like you said, the whole, turn the power off and, mitigating water usage and stuff like that. Shut down parts of the plant when no one is there. Shut the lights off. If it runs an automated process and you have robots for an entire floor doing their own thing without human interaction, turn the lights off. Shut down the AC in those areas. Revert everything. Use less than what you need. Turn the Wi-Fi off if you really want to consume, power. If you're talking about power over Ethernet APs and stuff like that, shut that stuff down. But, that's here nor there. That's, not our decision to make. That's the corporation. And like you said, it's up to the corporates, the companies who, are taking this forward and running with it. However, with that same methodology, we must empower the developers and the people out there to, to learn, more and more and more about, digital transformation and how we can go from a society that uses more paper than, digital aspects. If you think about it, if people are listening to this right now, they've kind of invested in that digital transformation. They've gone from reading a magazine or a book or something like that, where it's pretty much waste at the end of the afternoon, and turn it into a digital format. Not saying that we're as good as, some of the magazines out there, but hey, we're getting there. But, it's just people have already taken that initial step. Now it's time for the development people out there, our developers, our programmers, our software testers, our requirements guys, to take that and run with it. It's time for our, the SCADA systems of the world and the MES systems of the world, to finally step up. with that to make life easy. I still don't understand why most SCADA systems out there don't show worker instructions attached to them. Why do you still walk by, locations and stuff like that? And you still have, cell instructions printed out in a PowerPoint. That shouldn't happen. They should be on touch screens that the worker can scan through, and listen to, and watch and go through as needed. That's just not for, what's going on in the future. Is training. It's easier than it is to train them in a paper world like that's just been in.
So roughly 90% progressive manufacturing requirement gathering. You have to sit down and figure out what it takes to do these things. And what do you want?
Right, exactly.
Not just what it takes, but what do you want from this?
Yeah.
And it should be when I was a kid, I saw the first flip phone on Star Trek. And I realized that throughout my life, we should be doing things that Star Trek did back when we thought it couldn't be done.
Yeah.
That's what industry needs to do. What are the things we can dream up to make the world better? Not just the company, the world.
Right. If you think about it, we've gone from a communicator to an iPhone, to a digital, communicator device, if you want to think about it that way from the Star Trek world, and, we still haven't made it in the Star Wars, world yet, but we've definitely made it Star Trek. We're damn near close. But, the thing is it has to be all or nothing. And, and that goes back to, a sticking point that I have. And that's requirements. Know what you want, know how you want to do it, and know how you want to get there. Don't buy a system and then not use it because it didn't meet your specifications because you told somebody the wrong thing. It's not every system works for everybody. That is the biggest misconception, is I can buy a system out of the box and run with it, and it's going to do what I want it to do. It is not. Coming from the IT side, I can tell you how many times I've heard somebody say, well, this system isn't what I thought it was. Well, what you think it is and what you requested are two completely different things. So you just wasted money on this darn thing, and now you're stuck with it. My bad. Mainly because, A, you didn't read the documentation. You pulled the trigger without thinking about it. You didn't write down what the heck you wanted. And you didn't talk to nobody about it. And the thing is, it's kind of like one of those things that you see people, they buy this software, they go, oh, this is going to do exactly what I needed to do. But they're given the opportunity to do a consultation. You want to consult with the developers? Nah. I want it. Okay. Without going to the development committee and saying, hey, can I have this? And they go, yeah, sure, we have it like this. It becomes a hodgepodge. Because people are spending money on reality stuff they don't need, and then trying to force it to do what they want it to do. They're in turn destroying their business processes in the process. It's if it's not going to work the way you want it to, don't invest in it. However, that leads me to another point. If you can't find something that you want it to do out of the box, build it. Stop sitting around and hoping that technology catches up to what you want, what you need, not everybody knows what you want or what you need, like you said. But, if you can build it, it makes life simple. Because now you're building to what you want, to your processes, to your expectations. And then you can, take all your assets that you have in paper form and digitize everything you have to make it a one-stop shop. And that is where, I'm going to, pretty much get to the point where maybe I should stop running my mouth. But thank you for listening to the Tech at Lunch podcast, where we hope you learned something about tech during your break or during your lunchtime. If you did, please give us a follow to prevent missing future episodes. If you have any ideas or something you want to hear or learn about, please send us a show idea to podcast@vulcanara.com. Hope you have a good rest of the day and continue learning.